You're listening to Rep Radio. Our goal is simple. We support, promote, engage, and inspire the arts community by igniting the ghost light that shines on the stages of the up-and-coming, the unsung heroes, the brilliant writers, and the dynamic designers. Our podcast breaks the fourth wall to give you an inside look at the plays and the players. Stay tuned. Rep Radio is on the air. Today on the podcast, we continue our coverage of 11th Hour Theater Company's Society 11 Online. The next installment of the spring series, Quarantine Cabarets, features Elena and Rajeer Alford in a collection titled Home Fries at Home, Music for the Soul. Here is my interview with Elena and Rajeer Alford. Stay tuned. Welcome to Rep Radio. I'm your host, Darnell Radford, and today we are in the virtual studio because that is where we live. And I am looking at Elena and Rajeer Alford.
Yes, sir.
Did I say your last name right?
You did.
Alford.
And you got the first one pretty well, too. Thank you.
And the two of you will be presenting one of 11th Hour Theater's Quarantine Cabarets. And we were so excited, and we had such a great time with Rob and Billy. And coming up next will be Elena and Rajeer. So welcome to Rep Radio.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I heard about the quarantine cabarets, I was thinking about the many things we can do in this space and how these screens are not a proscenium per se. However, there is a way to tell a great story there, to engage an audience, to add those theatrical elements, and we can still walk away with that joy and that excitement that we had from being in live theater. So as I see everyone getting more comfortable and coming up with creative ways to use this space, I must say at first, I was like, I'm waiting for this to end so we can get back to those spaces. But now I'm embracing it now because I'm seeing sort of a hybrid opportunity in the future, and I really hope that we don't just throw away the capabilities of this technology. Like, I think it would be really great for a theater to say, now on our website you can go to our virtual stage where we always have something small and exciting going on.
And I mean, that would give us as artists opportunities as we're traveling throughout the countries if we're touring and such.
Exactly.
Still stay plugged in. And I would love that because I was, before the pandemic, I was fortunate enough to be on the road with My Fair Lady, and during the day before the show, most times, if you're not running around doing your errands and getting everything together before the show, you have a lot of free time. So I would love to be able to plug in and be like, I have these hours. Let's make a show. Let's do a concert.
Yeah.
Hit me up. Let's lock it in.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head talking about the opportunities that have come from the virtual space. I have been lucky enough to work on several different types of projects in the last year, and they all have introduced a new, exciting, like adrenalized form of community, actually, and what you can do in this little box that is so meaningful. And I'm so grateful for those experiences this year.
I feel like once we figure out how to do a virtual hug that feels as good as it feels in the lobby, or when you skip across aisles to see someone you haven't seen in a while, I think we're going to give live theater a run for the money, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm
know. Just saying,
maybe in like 2050, you'll be able to like reach through the screen, the camera.
Exactly. High-fiving. Oh, that would be awesome.
Right.
I know. Whatever happened to smell-o-vision? That hasn't happened.
So
So I know the 11th hour audience that is listening, thank you, by the way, know you from previous work, but tell us a little bit about yourselves and some notable pieces that we would have been able to experience you in pre pre-pandemic.
Pandemic. Yeah.
Pre-pandemic. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I've been lucky enough to be part of several of 11th Hour's concerts. So 11th Hour wise, Urinetown and Broadcast, and Company most recently. But other than that, the most recent project I worked on was the Sisters of Swing, which is about the Andrews sisters with Montgomery Theater. With two amazing women who are actually going to be guest appearing in our concert. Because after meeting these women and working with them, it's not a concert if they're not a part of it, as far as I'm concerned. They're incredible musicians and really incredible
And
women.
they sound so good together, y'all. It's ridiculous. Their blend and the way they sing that music, that style of music, is insane.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was my most recent live performance pre-pandemic.
Yeah. So I guess for me, with 11th Hour, I did one of my first shows in the city with them, which was Sideshow. I was a baby. I was still in school, still at Rider University, and playing Jake in that. Then also did Spelling Bee with them recently before things shut down. But we both have kind of bounced around the Philly Theater Hub. That was a really great space for us while we were coming out of college. That like transition mode to really like be able to work with a bunch of different companies and a bunch of different types of roles and figure ourselves out theatrically. But then we kind of so I guess 2 years before pandemic, we were in New York. We got into that scene, and I was touring with the Phantom Tour, the Love Never Dies, the sequel of that. And then My Fair Lady was the most recent thing after that. So yeah, that's a little wash of what we've been doing before. You may have seen us in those things before. Yeah.
Okay. So I do ask, I ask everybody, even though it was a year ago, we're still trying to kick it out the door. Like, I told you, I don't want to see you anymore. We need to see other people. We have to go.
Yes.
But it's still here. It's still slowly packing its things. I'm gonna start throw this stuff out the window if you don't just leave. We're gonna call somebody. I'm interested to know where you were in March and what was your sort of mindset when you heard everything that was happening and how we were just going to sit still for a minute and this minute became hours, these hours became days, and so on. What were your thoughts then, and then we'll talk about how we progressed through.
Sure.
I feel like I should start because I'm not gonna lie. When the news first started breaking about the virus, it was before it got serious, that right before March, and we were like in our dressing rooms backstage, people are talking about it. I'm just like, y'all, it's not that deep. It's like people are talking like aliens are coming. I don't know what's going on. I don't believe the hype. I was totally in the camp of just like, this can't be that deep. And then it got deep, and we were the moment that it got deep was we were in Columbus, Ohio. She had actually just come in to visit me and was in that city with me. And we did our first show on Tuesday that week. And that Wednesday, they canceled the rest of the shows for Columbus. And
my intent was to fly. That was the original plan, was to fly to Columbus. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to drive. I'm gonna get a rental and I'm gonna drive it. So it was 9 hours or something. But
she's the sensible one. We make a good balance. I'm like, there's no risk. She's like, I'm gonna take all these precautions just in case.
Yeah.
You're like, babe, it's like Guys and Dolls. There's no risk.
There's like pros and cons to both sides, right? So I think it's good.
We're a good team.
We're still learning how to balance those two sides, right? But so I drove to Columbus and was like, let's just take it as let's just like, why not take it seriously? And then luckily, yeah, it just so happened that we were together. I was so nervous that you were going to get quarantined with your cast.
Yeah, that
like
was
in
a real deal.
They were talking about separating people and keeping groups, quarantining.
Because
and so
at the time they were also trying to see if they could push the show forward. They were talking with the next cities. They were like, okay, it's possible these cities may not cancel, so we may
Right.
put you all in a hotel and then get you, so it was a little bit of a weird situation to figure out what are we going to do.
Right. And then it looked like if they were going to quarantine you together, that like then if it extended, you would just be be quarantined with your cast for an indefinite amount of time. And I'm really grateful that didn't happen. We were able to drive home to PA together in the rental and waited out the next while. I mean, we stayed for the next 4 months at friends of ours. We were so afraid of being with older parents, so we stayed with some friends of ours for a while. And then, here we are.
Here we still are.
Here we still are.
With a much better mindset on it, right? Like it's been a year, so we've learned to cope and like figure out how to be in it. Doesn't mean it hasn't still been hard, but like I feel like it feels weirdly like we can handle it now.
Sure.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
Compared to like looking back at that time and being like, what,
Yeah, well, and I think part of that is how we've gone through the roller coaster of looking at art in this time too. In the beginning, it was sort of a shock to the system. Like the show is closed, Broadway is closed, things are closed.
And vacation. I was like, okay, maybe we'll get like 2 weeks off. We get to go and chill out at home for a little bit.
That's true. Right. There was a little bit of that excitement too. And then the waves of confusion artistically began. And so we had to figure out what art and life and love and everything, right? Like every topic under the sun meant, and we were sort of presented with this shocking amount of time to do that, which was, both positive and negative and confusing and beautiful all in the same. So same time. So that was the start of that.
I feel like in some of the conversations I've had now that we're starting to develop a hindsight now.
Yes.
Where, should this happen again, would we be or something like this? For one, we'd be able to look back at this and see how we were able to handle it, or how we handled it, or some of the things we had to learn, and we might, just like the virtual stuff that we're doing, we might be able to prepare for something like this again, because I don't think we ever gave any thought to, were we not going to be able to congregate with people, just period. Like, we've definitely experienced productions where something happens in the theater, yet it continues on, even with all those issues. Or we've done things outside, we've done things in site-specific spaces, but to just not be able to go inside at all because there's just no guidance to how we can be anywhere but in our homes, but with our friends, has been, I kept looking at it as, isn't this the box we put every character in every theatrical production? Every production has some sort of like, it's a dinner party. So how do all these people get here? We invited them for dinner. And once that door closes, they're all stuck here in a sense. Not that they don't necessarily want to leave, but they're in there. So we're forced to interact with each other and engage, and the story plays out. But here, we're just here with ourselves. And, we didn't get to pick our desert island buddies, so to speak, to think of, in advance. I think if something like this were to happen again, I wonder if they would say something like, identify your cohort and
find a buddy. Absolutely.
Find your pod.
Find your pod. Yeah.
So important. And shout out to, speaking of pods, shout out to Jocelyn and Frank, our friends who had a 4-month-old when we arrived, and so we.
Oh wow.
They were so
and
gracious.
became our roommates for 4 months.
Nothing brings you closer in friendship than not being able to leave the space that you're in. So and also shout out and love and respect to people who didn't have a pod and sort of had to figure out this year on their own. With only the virtual space to connect with, because it's been tough. It's been hard for everybody. So,
but I mean, you know, we talk about the positives too, and before this, like for myself, I was kind of on this one line vision, which is, you know, I have a tendency to do that career wise. I will focus on this one thing, and that one thing was theater. It was like, all right, cool. I will see how far I can push this thing and how much I can do this. And this slowdown like really showed me that I have other hobbies and things and loves that I was not tending to. I was just, like, you know, I was like, this is my career, so I have to move this way.
So home fries at home. Tell us about it.
Thank you, Gracie, for that title.
Yes.
Oh man.
Home fries at home. So on the surface, it's just like fun. The title actually came from me making home fries most of this year. I make them for breakfast most of the time, and
almost every day.
Almost every day. I try not to, but it happens. So yeah, we wanted to do a concert that was like on the surface light, and brought some like some fun and joy. There's a Shonda Rhimes quote that I don't know if I can exactly quote it, but we watched a masterclass of hers, and she talked about how when she goes to write her TV shows, she tries to write them for the world that she is currently in, and not so, you know, if the world is experiencing a massive amount of joy and things are easy, then maybe it's time to you can put in some dark, because it will kind of bounce off what is happening. And in this time, we're experiencing a lot of hurt and a lot of loss and a lot of pain and a lot of reflection, and we wanted to bring in some light through the music that we're going to do in this concert, while at the same time still grounding and getting into some stuff that feels real, and we're not trying to avoid things that feel grounded, because I think you can also honor the vibe of today with that. But yeah, I think the main goal is to like really lighten things up a little bit.
And you also came up with the little, you know, addendum to the title, music for the soul, which is really what it feels like in what you're talking about so beautifully, the balance and complexness of all those things going on right now is just soul feeding. So home fries are also soul feeding, food for the soul. So that's where that came from.
Yeah. And there may or may not be a video of me cooking home fries. We'll see.
Oh my God, that would be awesome.
We're trying to come for HGTV. Maybe give me a show.
Exactly.
All right, so let's tease a little bit. So how do you prepare these home fries? You just have them as is, or there's some special way you bring them together?
You'll have to come to the show.
You might have to come. I can give them a little bit of sauce. A little bit. I mostly do mine in the oven. You can do them on the stovetop. The air fryer is also incredible. But yeah, for the specifics, you're gonna have to come to the show. I get that. Get those specifics. Darnell, if you want them, I will give them to you off.
I'm gonna dig for a little bit of this. You know, so I'm gonna say, okay. So are we talking russet potatoes? Are we talking sweet potatoes? Are we talking a mix?
My specialty is the mix. I like mixing.
Okay.
I like the sweet with a Yukon potato, and maybe sometimes throwing in a russet to get 3 different textures. But and I chop them up pretty small too.
That's it. Okay, no more.
Just a little bit of a tease. Okay, so are you hungry? Okay, great.
Yes.
Yeah.
For home fries,
I'm always interested because you know, I love sweet potatoes, and you know, everybody's got their way of making them, you know, so because they just don't cook up the way regular potatoes cook up. You got to do a little extra sometimes.
Exactly.
You got to add some things.
They need special care. You know, that's what I ask for on my birthday for every year for a couple of years now. I just want the sweet potatoes, and this is different from the home fries, which you'll have to come see the show for. But the sweet potatoes that this man makes are so good. They're just they're done with the care
man.
that they deserve that you're talking about. That special care. So,
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
our next concert we'll just do the sweet potatoes tutorial.
Now I have a question for you, Darnell. Are you putting marshmallows on the sweet potatoes?
So that's like so the marshmallows are like a casserole, and that's not always something you put at a dinner table. Like sometimes that's usually brought to a big dinner, like a Thanksgiving or a potluck kind of thing. And then as much as everybody wants to criticize it, they do want it on the plate because it is the syrupy sweet that comes along with that. You get to drizzle all over everything else.
Yes, yes,
and bring to it. But I think there's a place for it. But yeah, when you add the marshmallows, that's a casserole.
That's true.
And yeah.
So it's to have your family listen to this episode.
My family got so mad at me the year I made the sweet potatoes and didn't put marshmallows on them. They were all upset. I was like, y'all, I'm just trying to help us eat a little healthier. We gotta know.
They were like, come over here. Come over here. Let me talk to you for something. Okay, there are two things you cannot mess up: the sweet potatoes and the deviled eggs. Okay, if you don't know how to make either one of them, go sit in the living room. It's that simple.
Listen to this. They ate the whole thing in less than 20 minutes. It was the first thing gone. So I was like,
of course.
Y'all like
of course. They will. They'll be like, these aren't like mine. These ain't like mine.
Literally.
Where them biscuits at?
Oh my god.
I feel like that conversation is probably the same in every family. You definitely play it out. I know that there are people in my family who are known for bringing certain things, and if somebody else tries to bring that, you're getting a look like, did she not know? I know that is not another potato salad over there.
It's like
you know what? We just gonna put that on there.
You know which one does the thing. Don't mess with the thing. And sometimes you gotta take the marshmallows off. We don't need all that sugar.
As long as there's sweet potatoes on the table.
Too much diabetes running through the family.
As long as there's sweet potatoes on that table, we're all golden. This is good.
Oh my god.
So the selection is a little jazz, a little love songs. How did you begin to think about the selection? How did you come to the choices that you decided to present in this?
I think for me, it comes back to that joy word. It comes back to tapping into what brings us joy, and actually so many things bring us that sort of joy in the arts,
especially musically too.
And so in our first brainstorming session, lots of different things came onto the table, and then we were able to sort of section them off. We call them vibes. So we've got jazz vibes, and we've got a cappella vibes. We've got guitar vibes, which you can talk to your guitar vibes, being new to this pandemic. So and also tapping into things that we've done before, things that we either studied in school or have sung a bunch of times that bring us that sort of joy, and also trying out new things that bring that sort of like bubbly joy that we've never done before, as in your guitar playing.
Yeah. It's really weird. I never thought I'd play the guitar, but I kind of 2 months into this, I was like, all right, this looks like it's not going away. So like, what can I do that's like musical that can fill my time? That's not like lugging around a keyboard. So I bought an acoustic guitar, started taking lessons, and I love it so much. It's like become like my favorite thing to do, like one of my favorite pastimes. So starting to play it for virtual shows has been a cool opportunity to like be like, oh, okay, I guess I can do this in front of people, and it's not just for me, it can be a part of my performing, which has been fun.
Yeah.
I got a little jealous at your electric setup and your amp and stuff. So then he bought me a electric ukulele in Fender Stratocaster, what's it called, sunburst coloring, with my own little amp. So we've been playing with the electric instruments that way in this pandemic. So you may see some guitar and ukulele featured in this concert as well.
Yeah. And I mean, in the music, oh, sorry, Darnell, if you had something.
Oh, I just said, wow.
Yeah, the music is it is kind of all over the place, and that's our taste. We have a big palette for music. We both have grown up with a big, I don't know, just like there's no like one style that is kind of like our jam. It kind of gets infused from a lot of different things. So yeah, you're definitely going to see that in this show.
Mhm. I definitely, I definitely had sort of a return to music, in this past year, because I feel like I was always on the go, that when I do listen to music, it's really just to kind of set myself at ease. So it's kind of just, I tend to listen to sort of instrumentals, sort of, and something I can just kind of, unwind to and not really have to think too much about. But then I started, and I guess partially because you're sitting online, so you're like, I wonder what's going on YouTube, and then you find an artist that has like 500 million views, and you're like, what is the buzz about here? I do not know this character. And then you play the song, and you're like, okay, I see. So it's probably like 100 people listen to this like 100 times a day, because it's infectious. And you start to realize, you're like, there's elements of everywhere. So I remember being younger saying, if someone asked me about music, I would say, or I would hear someone say, pretty much anything except country. It was like, why? So why would you write off country music?
Right.
It's like, why? How do you know for a fact that country music is not something you would be interested in at all? And I don't know why that was always a go-to, but we would always just say everything except, for some reason.
That's so true.
I'm so with you on that. I don't know. That was always the stock answer, and I feel like I said it myself a couple times, but then like it's not true, because the country is rooted in like bluegrass and all these other things that I love. There's so many blues, exactly. So many versions of country that actually I think everyone enjoys aspects of it. That's funny.
I was just talking the other day to a friend about metal music, and that is my country from when I was younger. Like I was like, oh, like I don't connect with metal music, but he was explaining that like people don't actually spend the time to maybe look up the lyrics to some of these songs that are really powerful and often dark and sensitive and vulnerable and beautiful, and that's the kind of the same thing. Music is so widespread and so all encompassing. Everything deserves taking a look at and listening to.
Yeah. And you're a musician, so you get it. But I think some people are so used to, like, if they experience the finished product altogether, this doesn't sound like something they like, or there's something in it that they don't like, and they're sort of taken out of it altogether. But the lyrics are all poetry. So if you could just read the lyrics by themselves, you might actually gravitate to the lyrics, and now you put music under them and you see how it's arranged, and then you just have this appreciation for, wow, it's because we know it's like these layers, the story is being told on all of these layers. So you're trying to figure out how the music does, how country music does this sort of twang, like how does it do that, and how is it pushing the story forward. You may not be thinking about that when you're just listening to it, going, they're talking about a pickup truck, and they're talking about like all the stereotypes that country music tend to have. But and then you think, so I guess you just think, and I guess it's kind of the same if people would say, like, I don't like hardcore rap, or I don't like rap music. Like, why don't you like rap music? Maybe you just don't know if you can relate to it. So in general, you're just writing it off. But I feel like,
or it's the ear is like not accustomed to it. Like the people that went to see Hamilton and were like, I still couldn't get into it. It's because your ear is not trained to hear lyrics that fast, and like they're articulating, their diction's on point. If you like, your ear's trained to hear it, you'll hear it. Darnell, what you said about like the country thing also reminds me of I had this experience when I listened to recently Montero and Olivia. I think Olivia Rodrigo is her name. The woman that wrote Driver's License. Do y'all know that song?
Yeah.
So both of those were like top hits on the pop charts, and like I used to have this thing with like those top hits being like avoidant of them and like being like, it's just for the masses. It's not like it's not Thelonious Monk or it's not this, right?
Yeah.
But I listened to those two songs and I was like, I get why people love this. This is actually really good music. Like both of those songs are written really well. Lyrics are great. Montero is incredible. It's like I love how he stepped out on that.
Yes, and once you understand the story behind it, you appreciate it even more. And I feel like that's what I've been doing with these conversations. I've been trying to dig deeper to find a deeper meaning behind what we've experienced. I used to say, if you could definitely walk through the front door, but there are also windows, there's also the back door, there's also the attic, the basement. Like there's so many ways into the art that if you're just thinking of this, you have tunnel vision and you're thinking there's only one way to get into this, then you're going, no, I don't get it. And it's like, but wait a minute. If you think about it, maybe sitting in a different part of the theater might allow you to focus on some other part of this musical collaboration as it comes together. And then you're saying like, you know what, if I wasn't sitting on that side of the stage, I don't think I would have pulled that in. And now that I've pulled that in, or listening to music out in the open versus having them on your headphones, with a really good pair of headphones, tapping into all of those layers. Those are things I just find to be very interesting. And it just allows me to find a way into pretty much any piece of art. I don't think there really isn't anything I've experienced where I couldn't find something that I took away from it.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that analogy so much, that you can go through the front door, but you have all these other entrances. And I feel like that really accurately describes how I feel like this year has been for us artistically, that we were at the threshold of the front door looking in. And this throughout this year has been us opening the windows in all the other rooms of the house and creaking open the attic door and being like, oh, what's over here? That's scary because I've never done it before. But like, maybe that will teach me something and be fulfilling. And I just love that imagery so much. We actually decided to build a home studio this year as well. So we've invested in some equipment. Thank goodness for your research, because it's so overwhelming to me. But we have all this awesome studio equipment that we're delving into and getting to use some of that for the concert and stuff. And so it just feels like filling out the inner space with all those open doors and windows.
Yeah. You know what else is interesting about that, like this time is I think, I don't know, there's some artists, musical theater artists that I look up to, like Leslie Odom Jr. The reason I say him is because he has this career that's kind of it's very fleshed out. It's there's multiple avenues at which he walks on, and I think that in this time, it's like it has shown me in how to be when I'm not on contract. Because before the pandemic, in between contracts for me, I guess most recently, but was like either getting the day jobs, go and work at Trader Joe's, and I'm doing this thing, and my art kind of stopped. I would sing every now and again, maybe go through my book or look for auditions. You're waiting. I'm getting the callback stuff, but like, this has shown me that I can be my own. I can create on my own without theater, actually, which is really empowering and a really cool way to step back into it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've been I feel like it's not necessarily self-help, but I've been trying to find answers in what everybody else is doing, and that is some of the things I've learned too. Like, when you're thinking about, oh no, my source of income has fallen through, so what do I do here? Then you start to hear these conversations about how we should have been diversified anyway. Or like, here's, your job isn't the only way you make money. Sometimes the money can make money, but in order for the money to make money, you have to understand how to do that. So then you start thinking and you're like, oh, so it's not just my full-time job. I can have a side hustle. I can, I'm an artist. I can create something that I put out there. And then when people find it, I can make money off of that. So it's not particularly about money, but once you realize that just because this one tap has been turned off temporarily, it doesn't mean that you're done.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean that you're dead in the water. And I do feel like more artists are thinking about what else they can do. Like, I feel like everyone needs a YouTube channel now. You have to have one.
Yeah.
Put your demo reel up first. And then after that, just start thinking about seasons or just notable, moments from shows and play TV shows and things like that. And you're like, oh my God, this monologue in this TV show I saw, it was amazing. And so here it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's so funny to say that. Because
jump in it.
Yeah. We've been walking that line. I think like our trajectory throughout the time this pandemic has been like figuring out how to be in it and like survive in it, one, and then like artistically be like, okay, what do we want to do? And I think it's been leading up to us starting our own Patreon and YouTube channels and like figuring out that line, because we want to do a lot of things artistically together and we really enjoy working with each other, and we also have our solo careers that we want to nurture and push forward. But like, we're right there with you. We're like, Patreon, we should start putting more content out, since we have the equipment to do it and we have the want to do it. Why not share it more?
Yeah, definitely send me the link to that so that we can link that into the interview.
We will.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few artists who now have Patreons now, and I'm just sort of paying attention to them, and I'm like, I'm glad they're finding an audience. But what happens there is you realize, this talent is not just for the proscenium. I can use this pretty much anywhere. So I can use it here. Okay. Now, how do I forget that this camera's here?
Yeah.
And, and then to let myself shine, so once you take care of all these things, like I'm sitting amongst all this lighting, I've got a mood set in my room. And once I figured out how to kind of automate this, this isn't what I'm preparing every time. This is actually a cue. Thanks to technology, I can just call upon it and it sort of happens. Wow. And so these are some of the things I didn't have a year ago that I've been paying attention to now too. So it's like, okay, so when I want to set up for these interviews, the cue is after hours, and it brings down some mood lighting, and it sets the room so that I'm the focus, but there's other things in the background, as you can see. But I'm not quite ready to put this out there though. Because I'm so used to producing a podcast, and because I'm working with actors, I never want actors and artists to feel like they have to physically prepare. Like you don't have to, put on a certain costume or do your hair or anything like that to come and have a chat with me. So that's the thing that I definitely want to keep. But if I were to do that, then I want to make sure that I'm taken care of so that I can guide, my guests for that in the future. And I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. So I'm comfortable in the audio space, and I want to stay there, and I've got a good audience there. So we'll keep that for now.
And that is beautiful and worthy of celebration. And you follow those instincts. We also, we've been doing The Artist's Way by Julia.
Yes.
Which I feel like it was brave of us to do that during this pandemic. So I'm proud of us for picking that up during this time, which we both have picked it up before this. But I don't know, just the inspiration struck, and we along with my sister have been working through The Artist's Way. And so we have a lot of signs up in our workspace right now about just what you're talking about, the
Great.
self-care, the
Mm-hmm.
following joy, following curiosities, and taking care of the inner artist in us. Just everything that you're saying is just hitting right with what we've been talking about and thinking about.
Yeah, and I love the nature of the podcast that's not visual. I have seen some that have that visual aspect along with the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We're down if you want to do the visual aspect.
Hey,
Yeah.
first
Let us
YouTube,
know.
first YouTube
Let us
episode,
know.
first YouTube channel episode.
I know. It's not that I'm not recording video. I'm recording it. It's just I didn't prepare anyone for it. So I have it, you know, I don't, maybe I'll just play with this and then figure out what post-production looks like so that I would have, so that I'm comfortable doing it. But I want to ask you about the Artist Way. At what point, or I guess how many weeks into the morning pages were you before you started to reach some clarity?
That's such an interesting question. Clarity on the morning pages or clarity on
Yeah, when did a way forward start to make sense as you were going through those exercises?
I'll start by saying I really eye rolled the morning pages in the beginning. I was like, yeah, journaling, yeah. Oh my gosh, every day at like 3 pages, like longhand writing, and like I know it'll probably be like beneficial, but like and for me, I think it just was week 2 that I was like, all right, Julia. Julia and I we're on a first name basis. I refer to her frequently.
You call her Jules now.
Right, exactly. All right, Jules. Yeah, I get it. I get the morning pages. I get the sort of brain dump in the morning to open up for the rest of the day. It's been really interesting. It's been interesting to combine the forward-moving inner exploration with the forward-moving artistic exploration that we're trying and doing and playing with. It's been really synchronous, as Jules will shake her head at in great knowledge. But what about for you?
Yeah, for me, it was I think about 2 weeks. After 2 weeks of doing it, I was like, oh, all right. Like when I don't do it, I do notice that like things are like floating around, and it's been a nice outlet. So I think about 2 weeks, and now I kind of, it's like it's ritual now. It's how I start my day. I hope to keep it going after this too. Yeah, so about 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think before it, I don't think I kept. I mean, I always kept notebooks. I wrote poetry in high school, and so I was always trying to sort out my brain, but not in so much detail until I guess probably the morning pages. But I read The Artist's Way when before I started my theater company many years ago. I just knew that I wanted to do something with artists. I wanted to help artists get seen. And I kept saying, I feel like I want to be like an artist representative. And every time I wrote this, I would say, I feel like I want to be an artist representative. Like I want to represent artists. I want to represent artists. These artists will be the represented. You know what? That's it. Represented Theater Company. And so that's how I came up with the name of my company, Represented Theater Company. And from it, I had a ton of ideas. I was like, oh my God, we can make a playbill that's a magazine and it's called Rep Mag. I was like, we can do there's a collection of artists, it's the Rep artists, and we'll do like this podcast. It's new, but I'm excited about it. It's going to be called Rep Radio. And it was one of my first ideas, and I was welling up on the pages and literally crying as I was writing this down. And I was like, this is it. I can't believe, like, I had to sort all that out to figure out what it was I wanted to do. And Rep Radio, it actually took me much longer than I had the idea. It took me 4 more years before I started the first Rep Radio podcast. Wow. And then once I did it, I was like, I have a structure here, and here we are. 11 seasons later.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow, Jules
Yeah,
would be so happy to hear that story.
I know.
Um,
I should email her.
Yeah.
so where in your Artist Way journey did rep radio or this representation idea come in for you in your morning pages? How far in?
Um, I feel like I feel like it was probably 9 weeks, and
Okay.
the reason I say that is because the name. I kept saying, I probably was saying it in the earlier parts of the book, talking about I want to represent artists. I want to be an artist representative or something like that. I kept saying that, but it was not clear that it was I don't want to be a representative. I want to represent. I want to create a structure that is representing artists. So
Uh-huh.
it became clear towards the probably about 9 weeks in.
Wow.
And yeah, and it was and then it just my whole mindset changed, like everything. And I was probably insufferable to some of my friends. I was saying like they were like, "Hey, you want to go out and get some drinks?" I can't. I'm trying to start a theater company here, if you don't mind. I don't have that kind of time. Like, what are you
Right.
talking about? It's like
Right.
8:30. Like, what are you doing? But I was in the headspace. I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so now and I think it really helped me later on in life. I have, any creative ideas, any marketing center ideas I have, like just how do I figure things out? I'm kind of going to the well with those things too. And I think I am definitely better for it now.
Wow,
Wow,
that's
that
amazing.
was really my next question. Do you feel like it's stuck with you over the years
Hmm.
after doing
I'm
that?
Yeah. I mean, when I started Rep Radio, I did not want to be the host.
Mm.
Mm.
I thought, I said, somebody needs to make sure this exists. So I was already committed to being the producer of it. And I said, if I can get an actor to be the host and they would talk to other actors, these are just actors in the green room just having a conversation. So
Mm.
that was the mindset. But then, my original host wasn't always available, and there were shows that I definitely wanted to cover. So I grabbed the mic and I went. And it took me a while to get over the sound of my voice. And once I got over it, I got used to it. And I was like, I do like my voice. I like my voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Get those blurts out
my,
of the way.
yeah. So my intro and outro, they sound, I guess I do step into a character when I'm doing the introduction,
Mm.
but I'm still very much me in these interviews. I am, excited to have this conversation, and it sounds like that.
Mm.
So, and I don't feel like this is a show that I'm putting on. And I had a conversation with a friend in New York yesterday, where I said the part of this that makes it a show is that those canned recordings. I put more time into those canned recordings, but I know this is going to be an organic conversation where it's going to go wherever it goes.
Mhm.
Mm.
So
Mm.
we end up having this conversation, and I know how to steer this so that I can simplify the post.
Mm.
Mm.
So there isn't much editing on the end,
Amazing.
which is really good.
Mm.
That's
So I
awesome.
like that.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah.
I agree that your voice is beautiful and great and like grounded
Yes.
and makes me
Well,
want to
thank
listen.
you.
Makes me want to
Thank you
listen
very
to it
much.
more. We're on week 5 right now, so hearing that happened around like week 9 for you makes me look forward to the rest of the journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it probably would have been really cool if if that had been announced on social media. So we're starting morning pages.
Ah,
It seems like a great time to, you know, think about what's next, or, sort things out. Anybody want to go on this journey with us? That would have been an
Oh.
interesting group to create on
Oh
social
my
media.
gosh. The
that's very
next
cool.
time we do this book, because I don't think it's gonna be the last time that I work through this book.
Hmm.
I'm gonna do that because I was
Yeah.
thinking about wanting to work with a group in it. We're doing it with us and her sister, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
Been awesome, but the more people like that sounds fun.
That's interesting. Yeah, the original idea for this concert actually was that we would sort of explore our journey of the artist
True
way.
artist way so far.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Next concert.
Yeah.
So there will be a second concert. We're already excited for this concert.
Come on.
And the second one is in the works.
Let's
There we
go.
You heard it here on Rep Radio.
Deposit that check. Deposit
Speak it.
So what do you tell me some of the things you miss most about the live theater experience? What do you miss most about this, the things that happened before this extended intermission? We can't wait to get back to. We already know a ton needs to change, but there were some things that were absolutely, what made us realize that we were on the right path and we were continuing on the right path. So what are some of those things that have been on hold that you really hope will return?
The first thing that comes to mind, aside from just hugging people and just living the experience of doing a show with other humans, is that feeling that I get going from incredibly nervous, because I have stage fright, 100%. I get very nervous before anything. That feeling when it switches after the first number is done, into comfortability on the stage.
Yeah.
Which is never fully comfortable, but you're always on my toes. But that
is it stage fright or is it just the way?
Oh, that's a
because I feel like the most seasoned, celebrated artists still have stage fright, or still have those jitters before they get in it. And I think when you're I know they say when you're about to give a speech, or if you're doing a lecture or something like that, if you can kind of admit to the audience that you're a little nervous, you're not nervous anymore. And you can't really do that on stage because you have lines. So you can't be like, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous, but okay, I'm ready.
I have been saying this for years, that I just wish I could come on and say and do exactly that. I'm so nervous, and then continue. And I actually think that I got one opportunity to legitimately do that. Rachel and Rachel ran the programming Grow Up Great for the Kimmel Center, for kids at the Kimmel Center program. And I was doing one of those with her where it's like 50 minutes of little music and interaction and stuff. And my character in one of these days was nervous. And so I got to come out, but I was hiding, and I started to come out, but then hid again and was just really nervous. And I came out and got to talk to all these kids about how nervous I was. And I was like, gosh darn, that really worked. I really wish that I could do that and to a room full of adults too. But yeah, that's it. Maybe it's not stage fright. Maybe it is just the way, which is a beautiful way of looking at it. There's so much that goes into the pre-performance. So yeah, we'll have to add that to our. Is it stage or is it just the way? What? Just the
is
way.
it stage right, or is it just
the artist's way?
The artist way.
Yeah.
One of the things, I think the thing I miss most, well, there's kind of two. It's the people, obviously. I'm really excited after all of this pause to take that focus that I had, so focused on getting myself somewhere in my career, quote unquote, and putting it still in the craft, but also in the people around me, and spending time with them in ways that build connections, and just riding the wave. I love about theater that once it starts, you go until it ends. I love that. I love TV and film too, but the distinction between the difference between the two for me is that riding that wave. You just get to ride a wave. And you might have breaks in between, but I love that feeling of just going. It just goes.
Absolutely. Also, my favorite thing about theater is the teamwork. And I really miss being in a rehearsal room, and when you get those solid, really good projects that feel like they're funded and pushed forward with a team aspect. We have been lucky enough to have teams working on some of the projects that we've worked on, but it's just not the same behind a computer screen as just like having a production meeting and talking about how the day went or planning for the next day, and really leaning on people's expertise to get it done as a team. I love that so much.
Yeah. I mean, we start with a blueprint, and even if you've read the script before, even if you're fortunate enough to have the script in advance and you think you got a handle on what your character's intentions are, you're doing that work on your own. And then you have your meeting with the director, and the director has a vision of what this character is too. And then you collaborate and you sort of fill this character out. So it's kind of like, you may not necessarily have your elevator pitch for who this character is just yet, but you have all these ideas of how this character resonates with you, because you're pulling things from your own life to say, oh, okay, this is kind of like, and that's kind of like, and then, and I that's what I love about the overall productions as well. Like whenever you see when a theatrical production is nominated for best overall production, that they all came together and they told this story. It's not like one of these things is so much better than the other. It's like everything is brilliant. Like everything, the lighting, that simple sound effect over there, that character who had one line, everything about this was perfect. And that is why this is overall production here. When you see that, and I think, at least my experience, there are moments every season where I can identify the overall production nominee, and I am often surprised when I am correct that they are at least nominees at least know that I'm like, okay, I'm thinking about this as well. So it's always amazing to see all of it come together, because you can't do it with just lighting, you can't do it with just sound. You got to have all these pieces come together to tell this story, and it is layers, just like anything else that we have. You might just put on a shirt and pants today, but you add layers when you go outside. Like your outfit is not complete until you factor in the weather, or where you're going to go, what you're going to do.
And somebody has designed and made those clothes as well. So layers of other people involved in that.
Yeah.
I love thinking about teamwork in any aspect of life, not just the arts. I mean, I cry on the airplane every time because of the teamwork that it takes to make an airplane successfully take off and land. You can attest to that. I cry. I always want to applaud too at the end.
Like
well, that used to be commonplace. We used to applaud when a plane landed. Now we're just like, oh, could you hurry up? I know she's gonna hold us up because she should not have brought that bag in. It was not gonna fit in the overhead. We waited until they got it up there.
When we premiere our new YouTube channel, the three of us will take a plane together, and you'll get to experience the applause, because I always applaud at the end.
Yes, I would love to be a guest. That would be really fun.
Oh man. There was something else, or I don't know if we're at time, but on like jumping on that question that you asked, like with something I'm hoping for in theater is like, I guess the like these new spaces that we're trying to create, that the things that we've been talking about through organizations like We See You, the coalition that is trying to fight for equality within theater. I just hope that we as people can like really like strive together, band together to be a team for good in these spaces, right? To make sure that the sort of hurts that we had in our old theater world don't get to just come up again without us like really working through them as a community. So I mean that's my hope. I'm hoping that I can stand in my own morals and my own beliefs after getting to absorb this and take a pause away from it and like be a leader in that. But I hope that we can like as people keep that dream alive and present and fight for it.
Yeah. If you've ever had a job where it required a 3-day like 3 days of training before you ever got on the floor. That's kind of what they're doing. They are laying a foundation before you get out here and work. It's like, yes, we hired you because you are more than qualified to do this job, but we need you to understand our philosophy, our mission, our goals, our intentions and things like that. So I really hope that I hope that as artists in the creative community, that we take more time at the beginning to lay out our expectations and make sure that everyone involved feels comfortable in the space that we're in, and that we're aware of how open these doors will stay, so that if we need to address some things, let's give the time for it, because I know many artists can attest to it being sort of like a crash course. Like, there isn't a whole lot of time, and you just get in and you do the work, and you got to be up in like 3 weeks, and it's like, so I hope that the fact that we are in this virtual space, it may allow us to actually have a couple of virtual meetings before we get to the space and do rehearsals. And maybe that is that extra time we get. And these theater companies, maybe the preparation for this show will actually overlap in a way, so that the next show is kind of on the back burner, but is still very much in progress, and give us a little bit more time, so that when we get in there, we are comfortable and we can do that work, because the show must go on, and it will go on. And it has to.
Safely.
Do that. Yeah. Yeah. So the production, the Quarantine Cabaret is Home Fries at Home, music for the soul. And it features Elena Camp and Rajeer Alford. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. Everyone will need to join us on April 24th at 7:30. And you can get your tickets by going to 11thhourtheatercompany.org. And if you didn't already buy the whole package, if you did, great. If not, you can buy an individual or buy the next two. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. This was fun.
Yeah, of course, it was so much fun. So great. So great to spend time with you, Darnell.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, and I'll be looking forward to if you end up cooking in that space. I am definitely going to. Yeah, we need to see you eat on camera. I hope you're ready for that.
We got you. We're gonna try to put together a whole HGTV package.
Exactly.
We got you.
Rep Radio is an Emory production. You can find Rep Radio on social media at Rep Radio on Facebook, at Rep_Radio on Instagram and Twitter. For more information, visit us online at em3ry.com. Ride with us. Emory is on the move.